Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
This is The Long War. I'm Rob Baer, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Boucher and Wyatt Turk. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Hey, what's up?
So, I hear orcs are a problem. We're going to talk about that at all?
I think we will. I mean, we kind of have to because,
A little bit.
you know,
Okay.
fucking OP need a nerf.
Are they
I think we should talk about Carnage.
Well, you're going to have to listen to the rest of this podcast to know which one of us is telling the truth.
More news at 11. The answer might surprise you.
That sounds like a title I'd see on the internet.
That's a good title. I'm not going to lie.
And this is a good one.
Good job, Rob. I mean, Wyatt.
We're basically the same person.
Yeah, it's something that Rob would say. That's why I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
Like, incredible.
Yeah.
That's some clickbait ass shit right there, man. That's exactly irritating enough to get me going on a subreddit.
Yeah, definitely make sure you comment about it. It'd be great. It'd be super good. Because I don't want my moderators to go without. I don't want them to not have work.
Yeah.
So you gotta comment.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
What?
He just being a moderator.
Why it's like
nice. Dude, there's like a real high that you get when you exclude somebody from a group. Like it's somewhat addicting. I won't lie.
the best are when they hit me up and they're like, I don't understand. I didn't do anything. Who banned me? And
Except
I'm like,
you broke the rules.
I'm like, I'll look into it eventually.
You posted like a picture of your butthole 3 times in a row. I gave you 3 warnings. That was like,
and I literally go back and I look at this dude, what he posted, because I can see it all. And I'm like, okay, well, why banned him? Why did he do that? Gosh. And I'm like looking and I'm like, he's posting up some racist video shit. And I'm like, what did he think was going to happen?
I didn't do anything.
I didn't do anything. Like, are you trolling me?
You had me. The sincerity of this was like, I was like, maybe Wyatt went overboard on this one. Let's go. Oh my God, Wyatt.
I mean, like, I fully admit there are some people I'm just like, I don't like their attitude, and I banned them. But I also will ban people for legitimate reasons, so you don't know. It's like they're hidden in there.
Yeah, just rolling the dice.
Is he just playing favorites? Is it based on what he ate that day? You don't fucking know.
You just stay in your lane.
I banned somebody today, like 2 hours ago, just because I didn't like them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Didn't like their comment. It was rude.
So if you're one of those people, it's like, Wyatt banned me because he didn't like me, but you also posted something racist in the last 24 hours.
There's a correlation there.
But I mean, for the most part, you know, the hobbies group is very, very positive. Got a lot of good content in there. You know, a lot of studios.
I feel bad. You should make me a moderator on your other page, because I was like, I saw stuff and I immediately was like, oh, I'm going to ban these people.
And you didn't have the ban button.
Why don't I have moderation?
What are you talking about?
Oh, this is like Rob's page.
The Facebook, like the brand page itself.
Yeah, like the Spiky Bits page, not Spiky Bits Hobbies.
Oh, you got
true too.
Yeah, I'm an editor on there, or a moderator on there.
Let me see what I can do.
I sometimes get messages and people ask me to do mod stuff, and I'm like, I don't do that, man.
Dude, I literally don't. I don't reply to messages. There's just so many platforms and so many things. It's like, hey, just message me. Don't message like this random inbox.
I think because every time somebody messages me, it's, you know, like when you ask your dad if you could do something, and then he says no, and you ask your mom, or the reverse. Every 100% of the time when somebody is going around Rob to ask me to unban something, it's that scenario.
Oh, that's never going to happen.
They're literally trying to spin me a tale how Rob or Wyatt doesn't understand exactly where they're coming from. But I do. Like, they get it. Like,
oh, that makes sense.
Anyway. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Table of contents of this episode. We'll have a Tabletop Market Watch Memorial News Desk segment with Rob, of course. We're going to transition into some of these new Custodes rumors. Rob has assured us it's between 8 and 10 separate rumors to discuss. Ooh. And then we will move into SoCal Open coverage. We had Wyatt, boots on the ground there. Mm-hmm. If you guys remember last week, he actually was able to, in the pregame show, provide us with some BTS. Is that behind the scenes BTS footage?
Or it could be a boy band.
It could be.
Hard to say.
Wyatt's new band. And so he came back. He's got some intel. We know that Orks won. We're going to be talking about that tonight. And discovering the truth of their OPness, as Wyatt said at 11.
I like how you awkwardly paused after you said that.
Anyway, let's move into our other award-winning Peabody award-winning segment with Wyatt.
Ooh, yeah.
Tingly.
Would you rather that all food and drink that you consume is served hot or served cold?
That's it?
Yeah. Seems simple, but is it?
But is it?
Is it?
So I can only eat cold or hot, but it's also beverage. That's a problem.
How hot?
Not like it's okay. It's not gonna burn your mouth like that's the gimmick. It's like literally you can only
we're not talking like 3rd degree burn McDonald's coffee. Just hot.
Yeah, we're just talking like, coffee is always cold coffee now. Period. Which is so like if I choose cold, which initially I'm like, I can do cold. I like cereal. I eat a lot of cold sandwiches. I love sandwiches. Chips are always cold anyway. And then I was like, but I love hot coffee, but it had to be cold coffee. How long before that irritates me? And then I thought about other things I enjoy that have to be cold. Like I can't ever have a hot steak, a hot dog. But I can have popsicles, other dick-shaped items.
You can have cold dogs.
I can. I eat those sometimes, but not since I lived in a trailer park. Interesting. I think I'd have to pick cold. Because I think having everything have to be hot all the time would just annoy me. Like, because also there's like a laziness to the preparation of cold things versus hot things. Or is this a magic situation? Like, I want a steak. Do I have to eat it raw, or when I cook it, can I wait till it's cold?
Just cold. Yeah.
So I can so I can eat my steak cold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like prepared food, but it's cold.
It's just not allowed to enjoy it in its natural heated state.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's something that is better served cold, like cereal, it's hot cereal. Oatmeal, interesting. Maybe I can go hot. Oatmeal instead of cereal, but then I have to prepare oatmeal. That shit's annoying.
Yeah, but you could never have a cold glass of water again.
Oh my God, I didn't even think of that.
You have to have hot water, hot Gatorade, hot beer. Ugh.
Oh my God, you're right. I would have got fucked if I went hot. Damn. So I'm basically exchanging delicious, like ribs and fucking. I just had ribs the other day. Boucher made them. I have to eat them cold, which is okay. Never as good.
It won't fall off the bone.
No. And all like the gristle is all like hard now and gross. Instead of like melting your mouth. Like the fat parts.
It's going to make meat a little awkward.
Damn. But I do enjoy a cold beverage, man. Do I like cold drinks more though than a hot steak? When I go to STK, I just get to sit there and have the raw oysters and a drink. I guess it's not so bad. Well, you guys all get your fucking baller ass Wagyu fucking steaks though.
I mean, I'd have to go cold.
Yeah, gotta be cold, man. Yeah, I pick cold. There's no way I'm drinking hot beer and hot fucking bourbon.
So half the time when I'm making food, I like warm it up and then I get busy with some other shit.
And it's cold anyway when you eat it.
Cleaning up cat pee.
I mean, so like part of this is like you just have to give up on certain things, right?
Like, I don't even notice it anymore. Sometimes I'm in such a hurry, I just eat over the sink. And I'm just happy to be standing up. I'm like, dog, I don't even care. I just got to get this food in my body.
Sarah Dad in chat did say something I need to think about, though. He's like, Kenny would need to consider getting ice with hot smeared off ice. Here's the funny thing. Getting ice with a hot smeared off ice is desirable to a cold one.
Yeah.
Yep. So I kind of lock myself into always the shitty cold one, because the cold one, you can't drink it fast.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts your teeth.
It's like, it fucks you up, man. You have to slam it and it just fucks you. But sometimes people troll me with a hot Smirnoff Ice, they live on the dash of their car or whatever they did to make it super hot, like 80 degrees. I'm like, this right down the throat, dog.
Yeah.
Fucking done with that shit.
I mean, when I ice you, I made sure to pull it like out of the cooler and then like put it behind my back so it would warm up a little bit. I wasn't going to be mean.
You were
like
mean.
that.
Yeah, you were super mean. And at room temperature, I got ice with a room temperature Smirnoff recently. That was pretty nice.
So yeah, that's nice.
But now I'm locked into always ice Smirnoff Ice.
Yeah, dude. Like, remember when we were playing Street Fighter and Robert like ordered like Pinkberry to your apartment with like ice cold Smirnoff Ice?
Fucking 12 pack of.
God,
He didn't.
bro,
It's like 12 pack. Really? How many places did you call for a 12 pack? It was miserable.
I'd like
Probably went.
I respect the hustle. I respect the commitment to the gag, but also like
Also, fuck you.
that is so. I hate it. Like my teeth hurt so bad.
This shit was bad. Well, you know what's even worse about the gag though is like when someone hands me a room temperature Smirnoff Ice, I have to decide like, does this count as cold or warm? And then I have to go chill it myself to meet my obligations to the gin. So
Oh no, it's magically that way.
Oh, magic. So I don't have to do it myself.
Yeah, it's a magic. So it's like I could hand you a literally frozen solid beer. As soon as it touches your hands, magically hot.
To whatever the gin's temperature requirements are in this scenario.
Yeah, like you don't get a choice. Like there's no gaming this. Like
I'm glad though, because I like it when he does the magic, because then I don't get banned to the Shadow Realm because I try to game it. But that's the Shadow Realm is where you end up eating spiders.
That fart.
It's bad.
Everybody knows.
So Rob, as always, is jokes on you. All my food's cold anyway because I have to pick up cat puke all day. So
I can't help it. I just like I'm naturally resilient to these
yeah,
challenges.
it is. You're just like jokes on you. I can't eat gluten. Jokes on you. Can't smell farts. Jokes on you. Like,
Well, I had it. So I don't know. You know, chat doesn't know, but like I hung out with Jim Vessel and Anthony Birdsong this weekend at Anthony's store up in Maryland. Amazing store. Everybody should go there at least once for the Maryland Open. And Jim's like, so what booze do you like to drink? And I'm like, oh, the worst. And he's like, what, why? And I was like, because I can't taste anything. It has to be the worst shit or else it don't taste.
it's like raw moonshine all day.
yeah,
was like, well-
and also he's got to be careful about wheat products. So remember when we first discovered celiac disease, we had that moment of like a panic that you couldn't drink scotch and shit anymore. Remember?
Yeah, I had to start looking.
It was
up.
a thing, bro. We were like on the internet
mad.
looking at shit.
We figured out it was White Label Doers.
Yeah.
We figured that one out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was clutch.
You couldn't drink Zimas anymore? That was bad.
Man, you know,
Oh, what a sad day.
It was. He put Jolly Ranchers candies in
the
them.
ladies love them, man. They love them. They love them Jolly Ranchers and Four Locos. I had to give those up too. It was rough. But yeah, that was my culinary palate is not as refined as Jim's.
It was the literal
He didn't know what to make of it,
He's very disappointed.
to say the least. Oh my gosh. I was just straight eating garbage.
Yeah.
I was like, my flow chart is, can I eat it? Okay, I'm eating it.
That's the same flowchart my dog uses to eat this.
Will I taste it? All right, I'm drinking it.
Sarah does the same thing when I'm walking by like a puddle of trash water under a fucking recycling bin, you know, like she's like, I could drink that. So I will.
You just can't, dude. You just can't be picky when you're already so picky.
When your body is literally trying to kill you.
Yeah. That's
Well, good segue. So you're up at the Anthony Birdsong store. Jim Vessel was there.
So Tables and Towers in Westminster, Maryland. It's about 45 minutes northwest of Baltimore. So if you're going down 95, just plug it in your GPS and go by there. Like for real, it is legit. Amazing stores, like 6,000 square feet. And he's got just about every unit for every army he's collected, painted, and on display. I mean, he's got 3 gargantuan squigoths painted.
Oh, wow.
He's got I think Forge Roll did a ginormous Bama at some point. I think it was Forge World that did it. I hadn't seen it in a long time. I can't remember if it was Forge World or not. He had that painted. I mean, it's just insane amounts of stuff. And it's a great looking store. They did the Maryland Open there. They had a 70-person event 2 weeks ago, I think, there as well. So definitely check it out. Super easy to get to. It's right off the interstate. It turns into like a state route. It's only like 10 minutes from that point. So very, very cool. Super dope place. So
awesome.
hung out there. And then just did normal stuff. I actually kind of enjoyed a little bit of time off over the weekend. It was great.
It's great, man.
But I was kind of, if I could have flown to SoCal Open, I probably would have been there.
I mean, you definitely could have. That was an option.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, like you could have gone on Priceline, like bought a ticket, drove down to the airport.
You're right.
Got on the plane, flown.
I went on a bit of an adventure. I went across the eastern shore of Virginia. I hadn't been that way as an adult. I went across, if you don't know, everybody knows where Virginia Beach is, I would imagine, but there's about a 20-mile gap between Virginia Beach and that peninsula. It's called the Eastern Shore, and they put a bridge tunnel there. They call them bridge tunnels because it's part bridge, part tunnel. Two of them major channels for the ships to get through. And I had forgotten, and there's about 5 or 6 mile stretch where you cannot see any shore. You're just like, I'm on this bridge. All I see is this bridge. It's a little weird. And so that was kind of cool. And then I got to the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and we're going to call that the Methan Shore, because it was pretty much just straight. I didn't get out of the car.
Other Florida?
No, this was in the Virginia side of the Eastern Shore until I hit the Maryland side, which miraculously it was fine. The roads got better. There was like stuff. I didn't feel like I was going to get accosted by some sort of wasteland zombies. It was very weird. I don't know what to make of it, but just got to be careful. Just gas up, just blow through. That's my clutch advice. If you're ever going across there. But yeah,
sounds like my time in Tucson.
Yes, it was very similar to that story for sure. So new release wise, G-Dope's kind of shotgunning out some stuff, I guess, to kind of catch up with a little bit of a slowdown. And of course, they got to get stuff out because by the time we get the previews on Saturday, there's more stuff that we know about than weeks left in the year to release it. And that's just the stuff we already know about. So this week's release actually kind of helped with that a lot. But I mean, there's still 38 unsolved rumor engines, which I think is like 15 more than we've ever seen.
I've never heard it phrased quite as elegantly. 38 unsolved rumors.
No, those rumor engines GW do, where they're like, here's a little bit. You'll never guess what this is.
Start a new show. It's like unsolved hobby rumors or mysteries.
You gotta get Robert Stackhouse or what was that? Yeah. October 21st. That's the oldest rumor engine we have. That's my dramatic voice. It's terrible. Sorry. So lots of cool stuff. We know it's coming out. That's going to be revealed this weekend. Obviously, one of them is going to be the Custodes Lieutenant, air quotes, that they've been talking about. But everything else from there, it's not exactly sure, right? Not exactly sure.
Interesting. I mean, I always look forward to these big like press release info dump preview things they do.
I think we need another version of Blood Bowl. What do you think?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, if they came out with a 40K version of Blood Bowl, I would be so happy. I would lose my fucking mind if that happened.
You mean like Dread Ball?
I've never played Dread Ball. It's a future game though, right? It's like a kind of NFL
like
football,
Infinity,
but in like the far future with aliens and shit.
What Wyatt is saying is like they could skin it anything.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I love Blood Bowl, but if they make it like Blood Bowl but 40K, I'm like, whoo.
Yeah, if they skin it sci-fi instead of their fantasy IP, I think it would also do better and sell.
I mean, I'll also go into this. if they make it like, I don't know, let's call it blitzball, and it's just like random dudes and it happens to be this sport that they play in like the Hive Spires or something, I immediately don't care. Stupid. I don't want that. What I want is Blood Bowl, but in 40K, where you have like the Space Marine team, the Chaos Space Marine team, the Eldar team, Dark Eldar team, like Nurgle team, like all that type of stuff. Like that's what I want. I don't want some other like.
And again, like the skin right now, it's football, right? Like it's or rugby, right? It's like, but that's only because that's how they choose to skin it. It still can, if it's 40K on a grid with an object that they have to move up and down the field, it can be skinned any way to narratively justify it to be anything you want. And that, because it has always been a tight, airtight game system.
Oh yeah.
And if you,
the rule system for Blood Bowl is fantastic.
Yeah. If you extend it to the better IP, it would do better. That's simple.
Well,
but not make it goofy. Like, don't make it too goofy. Don't like be like, it's just Space Marines playing football. No. Skin it and do your due diligence there to make it correct for the feeling of the environment.
No. Like, so Blood Bowl is inherently preposterous. Like, comedy is part of its bonus.
Which is a part of why it doesn't do well.
So I think next week.
You don't like it, but I really like.
Oh, I love Blood Bowl. I fucking used to run seasons at it. It's just that it inherently is not popular.
No, that's not true. It's more popular than Titanicus.
Yeah. Well, that's the least popular game of all time. That's not bar. That's not how popularity works, Rob. Warhammer 40K is the most popular game system, period. And everything else is less popular than it. You own the IP that is the most popular game system on the fucking planet for fucking miniatures, yet you are taking your actual most fundamentally borderline objectively most airtight fucking game system, which is Blood Bowl. And you're locking it behind the less popular side of the fucking coin. And part of that does have to do, in my opinion, with the inherent goofiness in it, which kind of is, since Horus Heresy has evolved, has kind of been moving out of the baller IP. So take some of that in. It's like, it doesn't have to invalidate Blood Bowl. Just, reskin it here too. Like,
so then we get into the discussion of like, how do we do it? Right. Because potentially we're going to have.
Like, it's not happening. Stop. But something is happening, and now we're going to talk.
All right.
Rob is on tilt. Sorry, Rob.
Wow.
We'll talk about Crisis Protocol, which is clearly more important to you. Another game system that's not.
I was bringing that up because I was just trying to like dramatic pause. Ooh, we said something, but I'm glad you guys
got me all excited. Like, because I wait until you tell me things before I believe anything, and so being like, I don't know, maybe that is. I was legit excited for a minute.
There is something to be excited about, but I want to see what you think about it.
Okay, all right.
Next week,
you know what it is.
You can't tell me now. Like,
yo, that's like the same.
I will tell you after.
That's like when Wyatt called me last week, and he's like, "Hey, I need to talk to you about something later. Like, it's important." And then he just hung up the phone on me. Like, you know how fucked that is?
Can't tell you now. There's people listening.
Why did you know how my brain works? Why did you even bring it up? Because now I'm just like, I'm going to lose sleep over this, Rob. Like, you can't.
I'm going to tell you at the end of the stream.
All right. Okay. Acceptable.
All right. Glad we have terms. Jeez. Louise. I want to finish the rest of this. All right. So we got Kill Team Kalanath. I don't know how to say it, but whatever. It's coming out $170. I could not laugh saying that. So
is that more than the other box sets?
Yeah. So you just get the sisters and you get the Tau with that new upgrade screw, which is probably going to make them a $50 box when they come out. This is probably a not buy. Honestly, there's very little value. It's roughly going to be about $230 value, give or take. You get like $60 of value. You get two squads that really might not appeal to you. And you get the rules for them in the book and some other terrain rules for Kill Team. It's probably a not buy, to be quite honest. Like the first Kill Team,
you don't believe the value's there, and it's so
no.
I got it.
The first Kill Team came out in 2018. It was $130. It had the same basic set of terrain sprues. It had two squads. It had the core rulebook. It had the accessories, everything you needed to play the game. And it was $130. And granted, this box is only $40 more, but it's not billed as a starter. It is basically a two faction box, which they haven't really come out with for Kill Team per se, unless you want to talk about Pariah Nexus which was, put a lot of people on tilt too, and definitely wasn't a value. So I think it's just going to kind of be a lame duck release, but we'll see. We'll see how people vote with their hobby dollars. Some Sisters players are obviously going to want the Novitiates. Some Tau players are obviously going to want the Pathfinders, but I mean, unless they do something really dope, they know Codex is on deck. So I'm not really sure what GW is coming up with.
I always thought that like Kill Team wasn't very widely played, but I'm constantly surprised at how many people show up to the FLG events for their Kill Team events. Like there's a lot of people, and like they had a stream table for the Kill Team event at SoCal, and it was cool. Like their table was really dope looking. So like I'll hand it to them. Like it's cool.
I think a lot of people prefer Kill Team over a full game of 40K.
It's more accessible.
Yeah,
100%.
I can see it. I mean, I'm not a fan of the rule set. I don't think it's a very good skirmish game, but I definitely am like skirmish games are cool.
Yeah. Anyway,
so along with the,
I was trying to interrupt you. I was trying to prompt you to talk.
Gotcha. I thought you were trolling me. So along with the Kill Team set, there's 2 sets of dice for $35 each, one for the Sisters, one for the Tau. Then we got some new hobby supplies that I'm sure Kenny has lots of things to say about. We've got the new color painting handle XL.
How much money?
I would have really liked it if they had called it the Magnum painting handle, but for obvious reasons. It's $18.
Damn, that's free.
Wasn't it only like $7 or $8 last year?
They were $8. They were $9 for the red one. This apparently holds like a Gargant, like this bigger.
This is the XL Magnum, dog. It's the girth. Has the girth on it.
I thought that one, is this like a new one? Because I thought that one was like you could. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it holds like the big models.
All right, I'll take it. I mean, if it's really that big, like the last one I saw was like you could put a 60 millimeter base in it.
No, you can fit the Gargant, the Mega Gargant. Actually, was the picture.
So 100 mil? Is that their base size?
I think it's more than that.
120.
Oh wow. What?
That seems wow. Was there a picture of this? Like, how do they even?
Yeah.
What?
And then I thought, and then they showed another picture, and I thought it was Necron Warrior, but it was one of the score packs, like on a 50 mil, and that's how the scale looked. I was like, damn, that's a 50 mil base, and that looked like a Necron Warrior. So this thing was,
that's wild.
I mean, it's at least 100 millimeters. That's crazy still.
I mean, that one might actually be the first one that I would get, because sometimes with things like your Redemptor Dreadnoughts and
it's
stuff
kind of
like
hard.
that,
Yeah.
you kind of want to tack weld them to a big base to have something to grab to, and like, yeah.
I'm looking up what size base that guy is in. Oh, of course. Oh, 130 millimeter round.
Holy shit.
Wow. Okay. But it's still on like a one little handle thing. Like, how does it sit?
Yeah, they didn't show it in somebody's hand though, so I'm not sure.
Does it have little
exactly
like feetsies or something. Like,
no, it looked like it just had the standard butt plug design.
is this on Warcom?
It was the Sunday teaser, I think.
Wow, that's actually really. I got no jokes. I would buy that.
I did not expect that, but all right, we'll take it. Just the same. Yeah, let's see if we can see it on here on Warcom. It is about a third of the way down. Yep, and it's got the Mega Gargant in there.
Sunday preview. Okay.
It says it's designed to hold bases up to 170 millimeters in width.
What?
That's insane.
Wild, man.
It's like a frisbee. It's like.
There's also.
I imagine you have to take it off though. 'Cause I imagine it's not going to support itself. Like
it looks like it is.
So it's a different like shape. I mean, for holding it, like, yeah, I definitely see that. Like, it definitely looks cool there, but like,
I doubt you're setting it down on your desk with any degree of.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, but that's why it's adjustable. It just pops off. So like that.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. I see it. Oh wait, no. There's a second thing. It's the assembly stand, which then plugs into, and the assembly stand also has little like grabby arms.
Oh my god! Get the fuck out of here. Okay, this is a good one. Good shout out to G Dubs. I'll buy that.
Whoa. Okay. Sub-assembly holder. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of that. So it's just a bunch of like little
alligator clips
parts to hold.
No.
Like,
it's like head. Yeah, it almost looks like the bottom half of a chess piece with like this little pads. Clip on the top, and you can like tack. You can use like blue tack to stick it on the little points, like a hat tree.
Yeah, it's basically a hat tree. That thing is $27. Or no, the assembly stand with the grabby claws, the wacky inflatable grabby claws, is $27.
Plus the $18 for the other thing.
Yeah, okay. I think you need to put both of those together.
I mean, that's not a bad buy for that sounds like a quite extensive arrangement for hobby inconvenience. Like, that doesn't sound bad to me. Like, and there's an Aquila, there's a GW Aquila on it somewhere. So like,
nope.
It's
$45. Citadel color logo on it, not the Aquila.
It's $45 for this holder and the grabby claw tray plate thing.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Are we doing a bit?
No, that's not bad.
No, I'm like 100%. Like, the amount of annoyance that I have, like when I was painting, let's just say like a Telemon, right? Like, you're a Custodes guy, right?
Okay.
Like having to constantly like hold the Telemon like with my 5 fingers,
or blue tack it to something else,
or you just have to hold it like like with your like thumb and like index finger, like trying to squeeze it like that, like, and then turn around, do all that stuff. Like, honestly, like, yeah, like if I was going to do something like this of this size, that would be helpful.
Yeah, even my system that I have in my perfect rack, I have a big disc for big bases, but when they get too big, now you're always dealing with that like girth of the model, trying to undo the tack that you put on it, and it's constantly moving around. It doesn't ever feel stable. So then I'm just gluing it on there, and then I'm like, why did I even use this thing to begin with?
I mean,
it's okay. Like, it's a one-time thing. If you take care of it, you don't have to.
Well, the fact that it also has like the grabby arm, the little arms, and like it's $45 is a reasonable hobby station investment if it works. And all I've seen from the GW model holder is that it's 100% well received. Not one person who owns one doesn't like it.
That's true.
So like, I
don't know. 45 just seems steep to me for some reason.
Well, $45 takes, miniature money out of your pocket. So that's always, I feel like it's always a hard pill to swallow in the spending money on the stuff that's not the stuff category. So I acknowledge that. But this does seem useful to me, being a guy who's constantly painting.
I'm just thinking about this right now, right? Like, I'm about to paint Abaddon. And this is something that I would like to have for painting Abaddon on like a 65, 70 millimeter base. And
I guess
I only
there's
have to buy one of them. Like,
for that
everything else, everything else is fall short of that. That's I'm not doing a bit.
I don't think it's one you'll buy multiples of, because
exactly. Like,
multiples are like the $8 ones.
Yeah, so like I think the regular painting handles should be like $5, because inherently you want to have like 5 to 10 of those for a squad, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they used to be $8, and many of my friends have like 8 of them.
Yeah. They literally sold them in like a case. Like, you could buy a case of 12 or whatever.
Yeah, I don't mind a little bit more for a one-time purchase. No. Like, that's okay.
Now they have the spray stick too. They brought that back. The thing that looks like a rack of ribs with some rubber bands.
That thing's dumb.
I feel like we do the same thing with double-sided tape and a paint stirrer. Or like I don't.
Exactly.
I couldn't see myself.
Those like all those boxes of GW models you have. That's what the other side of the box is for.
Yeah, you put some double stick tape on there.
Literally.
Yeah.
I used to get super ghetto too, and I just had a can of spray adhesive. Like, like spray paint.
Super 77?
Yeah, the spray paint glue. And literally, I would just spray them all down and stick all the bases on them super fucking quick.
I will say this. I do recognize the inherent preposterousness of our 180 on these two products. Yes. When, from an outsider looking in, they could say that like butt plug paint holder is equally as preposterous and useless. So I will acknowledge that, but
I'll buy one to compare it, but I don't know. It's just not for me. Like,
but it's rubber bands and stuff, man. I skipped
that last time. I'm not doing that.
100% transparency. I'm never going to buy one of those.
I can't say nothing good about it. I'd be like,
Maybe
Because
if it's
look,
on the shelf and I see it, I might pick one up, but I'm not going to go out of my way to find one of those. Like,
here's the thing.
100% honesty.
You're putting rubber bands on a plastic thing and then you're spraying it with paint. We all know what happens eventually to rubber bands. Like, especially when
I'm talking about the double XL, like, gaper thing. That's, I'm never going to buy one of those.
While acknowledging it's useful. Just not useful enough to make you go out of your way to find one.
Also, some other fun and exciting releases for this week are the Warmaster Iconoclast Heavy Battle Titan. That's the post-combat version of the normal Warmaster Titan. $160. Remember, these are night size, 40K night size. You could definitely use this probably in a 40K game. You'd have to rebase it because G-Dub was putting it on a Dread Knight size base instead of the normal night size base. But other than that, should be good to go. For Titanicus, also the Trader Legios book, compilation book is coming out. It's interesting that now we have 2 full compilation books of all the rules besides the main rules for both sides of Titanicus. Anyways, for Imperialis, the Fire Raptor squad is coming out for $42. And finally, our dreams have been answered. The Adeptus Astartes Thunderhawk gun ship in plastic. Not quite as big as we want it to be. It's only $42. I was actually surprised. I was like, that seems mildly affordable.
See, a tiny Thunderhawk you're willing to pay $40 for, but not a fucking useful hobby item.
But when you say tiny, how tiny really is it?
I'm actually kind of curious what the size of that little Titanicus Thunderhawk is. Like, is it kind of big? Like,
it's probably
the palm of my hand, 5 inches long. What's?
I'm just using it as a point to illustrate how people are innately less willing to buy the things that you need to do to the things that you want to buy, which are the models, right?
Oh, that's just
a tiny Thunderhawk is utterly useless unless you actually play that game, which almost no one does, right? So you want one though, still, because it's a sick mini, though it's literally garbage and useless. It's just something you like. So we're more
put it inside the other Thunderhawk so I can have rushing nesting doll Thunderhawk.
See, completely meaningless, but makes you happy. But we are more likely to spend money on that than something that makes that process easier.
The rubber band thing is stupid.
So is the holders innately. Like a $45 holder is unnecessary.
But my thinking with the Thunderhawk, right, is that every once in a while, playing Apocalypses with your boys is fun, right? Like, kind of agree on that. However, buying and building and painting a legit Thunderhawk, not so much fun, kind of breaks the bank, right? But because of the way that aircraft work, they're inherently always really high up in the sky, can't take advantage of terrain, anything like that. I would almost say that get like the regular Aeronautica plastic Thunderhawk and just mount it like on a flying base so that you can like have it on the table with a big flying base. And then it's just like, now you can have your fun without breaking the bank and having this giant resin model on your table.
Even better.
Possible to balance.
Get like 3 of them and arrange them in like an air wing squadron.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it takes up more girth and then they're on the base all sick and shit. And then just flying around like, that's
why I'm like, I actually kind of want to know the size of this model because I could do that. Like, I don't have a Thunderhawk and that would be cool.
That's kind of sick. All right. You sold me on it. I want one now. I want 3. Well,
you'll have your chance next weekend, but get it if you see it on the shelf because we all know how that's going these days, right? Some other stuff that's not GW, though, we'll talk about some Custodes here in a minute. RTLW is doing their Magnetic Heroes Kickstarter on the 16th of November, which is, some RPGs. I think there's 12 heroes. They're all human sized. They have different equipment. I think it's 127 different options that you just basically put the magnets into the models and then the weapons, but the tension is tight enough that they'll just click clack all together. You don't have to use any glue or anything. But I think it's kind of a neat idea, because if you're like in game RPGing and you like pick up some sort of different equipment and you have it right there, I like magnets. I'm really pro magnet. So this seems like a really cool thing. Don't play as many RPGs as I should, but if they start with that and then they can expand out into other things and maybe other games, that would be pretty neat to see too. So check that out. November 16th should be right around then going live. If you're into Magic the Gathering, it's been some crazy stuff going on. They announced that the D&D version of Magic the Gathering, the Forgotten Realms set that came out over the summer, was the highest grossing or highest selling summer set of Magic the Gathering in the history of ever for them. And that's 28 years of Magic the Gathering, by the way. So I don't know whether it was because it was co-branded with Dungeons and Dragons, or, you know, the COVID stuff was starting to get less restrictive, or what. But we're probably going to see more Dungeons & Dragons Magic sets. So if you like that set, there's probably going to be more in the near future. I think the next set coming out in January is the new Return to Kamigawa, Neon Kamigawa. It's going to be like Batman. What's that Batman movie? Well, Neon, Batman Returns, Batman.
I have no idea what you're talking
Forever.
about.
No, none of these references are landing.
No, the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Terminator?
The Mr. Freeze Batman. Somebody knows what I'm talking about.
I mean, you were talking like, is this happening in Japan or something? Like, what is this?
So they're coming out with Batman Forever models?
Yes.
I don't understand what's happening. Kickstarter for Batman Forever? What are we talking about?
That's it.
I'm so lost, dude.
The whole thing about Batman Forever was there was all these like neon scene. I don't know. It was just the style they were trying to go for.
Oh, okay.
But
They also put nipples on everyone's outfit except Batgirl.
That I'm okay with.
I agree. But they also announced that they're doing like this casual play department to.
Wait, is it Batman and Robin?
It might have been Batman. I don't know. It's been so long.
Chris O'Donnell was Robin. I remember.
Yeah,
that.
but he was Robin in two of the movies. There was a follow up, and then that was it.
Yeah, because it was like Val Kilmer and then George Clooney, right?
This was the George Clooney ones.
Okay.
But Alicia Silverstone was in it with no bat nipples.
You know what's wild
Correct.
is like, if you go to somebody who wasn't alive when that movie came out, and you were like, hey, so there's this Batman movie. It had George Clooney, Chris O'Donnell, Jim Carrey, Uma Thurman, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh, yeah.
They'd be like, that must be fantastic. It's like the best superhero movie ever with that cast. And you're just like, no, that's the fun part. It's terrible.
Anyway, so Magic's doing more of an emphasis on.
Oh, that's right.
play.
Magic is doing a Batman Forever set. Is what,
Yep.
That's how we got here.
Casual play, Batman Forever. That's how we got here.
Cool.
So new D&D set eventually, but more, I guess, sooner. Another Kamigawa set.
Oh, and Cletus also.
Third Kamigawa.
We normally don't go in the chat during this segment, and Cletus said it's the only movie he ever walked out of. But also think earlier Cletus said something about filling out the AMA on our Patreon.
Ooh.
Can we confirm that somebody may have finally filled that out?
We could take a look when we're not reading from a script.
Wait, what?
I can. Yeah.
You have a
take look,
script?
yeah. Nope. I have bullet points. I'm reading from bullet points. Let me make sure I read all this stuff. Yep. Oh, I know some people are waiting for this. So Astartes will be on Warhammer Plus next week.
It's already there.
Was it this week? Oh, it was this Wednesday, yesterday.
Yep.
This week. I said this week. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't have Warhammer Plus, so I wouldn't know exactly when it's coming out, but I know a lot of people are looking forward to it. So it might be worth checking out if you have it. Make sure you tune in.
In point of fact, it's one of their free ones. You can just go to the website and watch it. It's not.
Well,
behind
that's
the
even
paywall.
better. Now I'm going to see it. Now it's happening. And on the Marvel Crisis Protocol front, they teased a couple more character changes. Ghost Rider's getting some changes. Medusa, Enchantress. Well, everybody's getting changes, but they were more specific because they showed the cards. And Valkyrie. So Enchantress isn't going to be quite as crazy on the tabletop and able to just make people move without an action or steal things, which is kind of probably good. And Medusa isn't going to be able to push people around and get additional attacks quite as easily. But I think all these changes I've seen are good. Ghost Rider kind of was, I don't want to say useless and insensate Wyatt, but he wasn't He probably wasn't worth
currently,
it.
like his current rules.
His current rules are better because he has higher stamina, he has some resistance, and his
he gets so the changes he gets more
Spirit of
health.
Vengeance. Yeah,
and he's now immune to a lot of the things that he's not immune to now. Like his new card is way better.
Oh, it's way better, and the fact that he gets the if his characters or his team takes damage, you don't have to be within a certain range.
Yeah. Like his new card is fantastic. Like he's
way better.
Like an average 5 cost. Like he'll put a hurt out, but he's very average.
That was the point I was trying to make. He's kind of like an average 5 cost. Like a 5 threat level in this game is kind of like what would you say? Like in 40k terms, like an Imperial Knight, like something good. Would you say a Knight? He's not like a Demon Primarch.
I don't know. A 5 is definitely like something you need an answer to, because if you don't have something to stop a 5 threat, they will run roughshod over you. Like they're supposed to be your team's like linchpin.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. You're definitely going to have to make some decisions about going after him now or just ignoring him for sure. But I think
hard to ignore. He's got great movement. Ghost Rider's like
he's a more well-rounded package now, and I think with a lot of the mechanics coming out, depending on who his affiliations are, he's going to be definitely. Because we haven't seen have we seen? I'd have to go and look and see what the most recent FAQ for affiliations was when they updated it, because there's been so many releases that have come out globally, like. I think he's Defenders. I'd have to check. Or is he Midnight? Is he Midnight Summon as well?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. All right.
He's also in Avengers.
That definitely makes sense. But I think with those factions and those changes, because him paying up power to just move 1 on that big ass base is actually pretty clutch.
Oh yeah,
if you take him in Midnight Suns.
The move tech for him in Midnight Suns is insane.
Like moving that chunky butt for 1 power, totally worth it. So there's definitely some play there. So definitely check that out. There's been a lot of Marvel Crisis Protocol updates. Apparently all that stuff's going to go into effect in November. Let's get over to the Custodes Rumors, air quotes, new rules rumors. Obviously, you've probably seen that pixelated reverse Photoshop picture of what is supposedly a lieutenant that's going to do all these good things for the Custodes army. And I hope he does.
That's cool. I mean, I can kind of tell from this that it's like, it looks like they are definitely drawing some inspiration from the OG like concept art of Custodes, where they have like these sort of like a Gambison type coat underneath their armor with like the slightly shorter helmets and stuff. Like, looks cool. The little poofy helmets, I like them. So the big rules rumors right now for the Custodes is no more +1 invulnerable, like blanket wise.
Yeah, that was that was a weird. That was if every model in your detachment or something you got plus. It was a interaction that suddenly doesn't really make as much sense as it used to, because they are 5 up invulnerable, right? But they get the bonus, and as a part of that,
some are 4. They're just 4.
And and then I think the other part of that was everything is objective secure. Period. Right.
Right.
So confirmed reasonably, they're 5 up invulnerables now, for the most part.
And feel no pain 4 up against mortal wounds.
That's really strong, because that's really their biggest weakness, and it looks like they might be taking the psychic part of that off of the table.
I'm okay with that.
That's the case. That's real good.
And me too. Like, especially if they're going to take away the blanket +1 invulnerable that they had. Because like literally, I just need to make them fail to save to do my damage, right? And they should, with their narrative, be able to withstand mortal wounds from all sources.
And remember, these Custodes are better than even a basic Space Marine or even a Primary Space Marine, supposedly.
Oh, yeah, they're the best. So like, that's their whole deal. So I'm with that. That's cool. What else?
Most stuff's getting an extra wound, which kind of makes sense when you hear the the change to the sword and board thing.
Increase their hit points by like 20% and remove 50% of their saving power.
Right.
So like, it's not quite even, right? But with the addition of a sprinkled on 50% mitigation of mortal wounds, I think it starts getting back to even, which I also think leads you to believe that there might not be much of a point change. So like people are typically nervous that they're going to go up in points because as they get more characteristics. I don't really think that's going to be the case.
I don't think so either. I think they're actually Custodes are like one of those books that's just in this weird like limbo where they're already part 9th, but they're not. But they're still got a toe in 8th.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Another change is, and this is probably one of the big ones, is spears and axes instead of being a random D3 are going to standard 3 damage.
Yeah.
Which I thought, which is really cool because the trend has been 2. Something that's D3 damage goes to flat 2. But not always. That's not standard across the board, just mostly. So that's really powerful. So they're going to be, again, 50% easier to make them fail a save. Potentially 25% more wounds, which is still a deficit. And only more resilient in a mortal wound scenario, which is not as common. But more attack power. So more teeth, slightly less survivability, right, on paper right now at this moment. So more teeth. Do we have any characteristic updates like go along with that, like attacks or anything like that?
No attacks. But army-wide heroic intervention supposedly.
Okay, there we go. Got some teeth. So more DPS, more teeth.
And this kind of confirms something that I think a lot of people have suspected. The book's going to be more of a Talons of the Emperor kind of style. If you look into the
what does that mean?
They're going to be the Sisters of Silence are going to be basically part of it, like probably part of the book. Because if you look at Kill Team, they actually have them listed together as one faction in Kill Team already, and they wouldn't do that in there if that wasn't like about to happen.
Acknowledged. Sounds pretty. I mean, that's cool. They should be in their codex.
So their flamers for the Sisters of Silence are supposed to going to be AP -1, which is kind of what they should have been.
Heavy flamer, like a half of a heavy flamer, right?
Yeah. I think they do something else as Psychers. I forget exactly, but I think a lot of people take them with bolters, but maybe spending extra points for flamers might be worth it now. They're going to have new passive abilities, Sacred Rites lookalike. So I guess you'll be able to upgrade the duders to be the things.
What does that mean?
Isn't that Sacred Rites? Isn't that the thing where you spend 50 points to make the chaplain, the apothecary, the super apothecary?
That's right. That's like the old school way of buying war gear versus the new school way. Yeah.
That supposedly stratagems have been toned down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
as expected across the board in all 9th edition.
There is some stuff in there that's probably needs a boost, but there's probably more that needs to be more in line, obviously.
It's not like even about what we need, it's about where we've gone. Like, GW made the decision that having an infinite way to farm command points and then spend them was inappropriate. Especially with how powerful stratagems became, which means all we did was focus on the powerful ones, and that was our game plan. The big change they made in that edition was you don't farm CP from detachments, you spend CP on detachments, right? So they doubled down on that concept by also making good stats across the board and very change the momentum of an action with this resource expenditure, right? So would love to see how that applies to Custodes, because Custodes have some of the most vicious wombo combo, like spicy fucking stratagems, like that have come in and out of popularity depending on what era we're talking about Custodes. So, I mean, remember the swooping dive era?
Mm-hmm.
Like when the Dawn Eagle jet bikes were the hotness, like that was just like. So I'm glad to hear about army-wide heroic intervention, because I'm certain that exact stratagem is going to be not there or different. Yeah, so it's kind of like everything is scary to get near. And since they're going to have less bodies innately, it's much harder to I'm just going to go and stand on the objective and take it from these guys. Hopefully they're not really good at putting their models on the objective, so I can't do this without being within 3 inches of them. Oh, I can't. I'm going to get heroic later V, aren't I? Yeah, man. Get fucked. Like, I love that. This is sounding really good.
And the last rumor is that a new character with a sort of litanies, which may be the lieutenant model that's been rumored.
So, like a Chaplain style buff character?
Perhaps.
Is that what that means?
So it's what it sounds like. I mean, they don't have a chaplain, so maybe they'll get a chaplain light.
Is there any lore for that? Like, you know more about the Custodes than I do.
Not really. Like, I don't know, but they're making stuff up all the time, so whatever. They'll work it in. Like, hey, we've been going outside of the gates now, brothers, a lot more. We need the thing like the other guys have.
I love that. That's the narrative. Love it.
Yeah.
So, like, okay, look, haven't been out there battling in a while.
Shit's crazy.
All these motherfuckers have this guy running around just like yelling shit, and dude's just like, get good.
We need that.
We need that.
Yeah, get one of our guys to start yelling.
They're like, oh, brother Baer in the back. He's our guy. We're just gonna get him. He's good at that.
Talks a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then that's fine. So
that's my headcanon for that whole move now. Like, I can't unsee that.
I think it's 100%. So the whole list of rumors, I think it's sourced from random Reddit thread that isn't there anymore. And I think before that it came from 4chan or something. Who knows? Really hard to say once these things go critical mass. But anyways, they're out there. You can check them out. They're over on Spiky Bits. We took the pics.
And the rumors have been highly accurate for the last year.
Yeah, from that source, they've been pretty accurate. There's some Genius Star Cult ones about the Saboteur, but we won't really know until probably tomorrow-ish if they're a little bit more on the accurate side. But by then, it's already going to be at the preview, so it kind of doesn't matter.
By the time you would know if they're not accurate or not, it's time. Like, so.
Yeah. So.
The preview should be cool. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's the first live preview since July, actually.
That's impressive.
So there's been a bit of a slowdown, but I think it's starting to pick back up some right now, which is pretty cool to see. Because retailers, they need stuff for the holidays.
They do, and this is the time that you move the most. As we move into Black Friday, especially. Mm-hmm. It's go time, you know?
I will let everybody in on a terrible rumor. Terrible.
Is this one of the unsolved rumors from your new show?
No. This is a rumor that's going around in some retailer circuits threads, and that is that there will be no battle forces this year. None of those combo deals that GW likes to do, which would be the first time in a long time.
That just means they don't have the product.
That's what that means.
Yeah. Fuck.
That's not surprised considering how the market is right now.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised either, but
like, it's funny because it is kind of it's shitty because it's shitty, right? Because people look forward to that. But also I'm like, you know, I would have been a little bit miffed if it was like not the case where it's like, wait, you have all this shit? What the fuck's been going on back there? You know, like, yeah,
it's a lot of feels because, you know,
it kind of confirms the GW narrative that like they're doing their best and supply lines are clogged up. You know, like, so
dude, it's hard to beat GW and you know, line all these things up to all happen at the same time and not piss off people, because
it gives me a little bit more empathy for them. 100%. Like, but while also acknowledging that, damn, that sucks. Like,
but yeah, Battle Forces, they're gonna be going for a lot on eBay if they're still got the old ones out there. Well, not quite as much as they're worth, but when you get these things and they're basically worth, I mean, what were they, like 210, and you got like 3 something in value out of them?
So sick.
Yeah,
so sick.
They'll be out there, but they're gonna be at a premium this year for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Well, let's good coverage. Let's transition into the orc topic, right? We're going to have to answer that question that we posed at the beginning of the show. If you're tuning in right now or you're listening, and you might want to sit down for this one. Just put down the phone, stop texting if you're driving, you know, because it's about to get real in here, right? Because we got to talk about these orcs. We already did a pretty extensive pregame show. So if you want to get like really into it, we, post that on Patreon, right? Which is longwar.net.
Oh, I guess
is that longwar.net? Fuck, I don't know. We have a Patreon page. We're trying to get to 100 patrons so we can do a big t-shirt fucking annual
plug in all the
thing.
restreams.
But so we talked about it at length, and we're going to try to put that in a more digestible format here by hitting some of the topics that this will be like me and Wyatt's fourth time talking about this.
Yeah.
Because it goes all the way back to 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time when we started talking about this on our tactics discussion. So we're prepared for this topic. And so right out the gate, orcs are OP, need to be nerfed. It's not true. That's a gag. Right? We're joking. And we joked a lot about that in the after hours. But the reality is, Orks won SoCal Open.
Oh, yeah.
Team XPZ, Zito's Petting Zoo.
Oh, yeah.
Logan defeated the undefeatable Sean Nayden's undefeatable Drakari on camera, almost and seemingly without any struggle whatsoever. And so the internet is ablaze with feelings on the subject.
Oh, yeah. I mean, dude, just watching the game, like being there and just watching it go down, it was surprising. Like I won't say that it wasn't, because like anybody who watched that game was definitely like, what is happening right now? Like that was kind of the feeling that everybody was getting. So it's pretty wild to see.
And you were there, which is awesome. We last week we had behind the scenes. We had Wyatt reporting, boots on the ground.
Oh yeah,
an incredible weekend. And so like everything that's happened has been overshadowed by this phenomenon, right? That has got people thinking, got people talking. And so the first thing we want to move into is we want to adjust a couple things, right? Like we got Team XPZ came in here. They did something incredible. So I feel like the first thing we should talk about is what they did as a team and how well they did it, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'll kick it over to Wyatt, who...
Right. So before we get too out in the weeds on that, I do want to say that, like, shout out to Reese and Frankie and Kicker and Adam Solis and the other frontline guys that were there. They put on an amazing event. Best SoCal that I've been to. I think this was number 4 for me. It was amazing. So congrats. Good job to them. And then I want to say, like, thanks to Val and the other stream team guys for putting on a great stream. And shout out to all the Dice Check guys. So Demeki, John P, Bricky, Matt, Garrett, and Raph. They were all there. They were all busting their hump to make sure that the stream was going off without a hitch. You may have seen Demeki walking around as table boss a few times. Put on a great event. So, like, congrats to them. Saw some fans of the show. Sean Allen, met him for the first time there. Great dude. Got to play a pickup game with him. That was super cool. So, like, hope to see him again. One of our guys, Scott LaFontaine, he made top 8 with super wily demons list and did an amazing job. So I'm like, great to see that. That was awesome. And yeah, like XPZ, like they did an amazing job. They had multiple guys finish in the high brackets. 2 guys in the top 8 with Logan and Joel, and got to see some other people there. Like Steven was there, got to hang out with him and talk to him a lot. And yeah, they went full like team effort on this. They came together and they were telling me about how for months they put together this type of list. And in fact, they put it together a while back. And then after they were kind of play testing it and refining it, they like took it off the market. So they didn't want the hammer to come down or like the sort of like meta to shift because of this. They wanted to unveil it on a big stage. And most of these guys are all like California dudes. It's like their backyard. So they wanted to go to SoCal and like crush it. And they did. So like, congrats. Like that was a great job. And then they also had Joel playing his Dark Angels, which is something pretty cool to see. And Joel like developed this Deathwing army strategy and like how to pilot it and how to sort of go up against the current meta and also like how to kind of sharpen steel against steel with this orc list that was developed to be sort of like the Drukhari Admech meta killer. They came in there. And the story of the day is that like this list is like stupid busted and it's like face roll central, and it's really not. Like when you kind of look into it and you break it down and you see how they put this together, it's just that they developed this specifically to like really kind of pun intended, put the boots with the freebooters onto the Admech and the Drukhari, which has been this sort of like somewhat stagnant meta for the past like 5-6 months at this point. And Logan was like their sort of like star guy with the freebooters to pilot this, make the right decisions, and fight all the way to the top table, and then like be in that situation where it's like, oh, it's just, like we planned for this. This is the culmination of everything, and they just crushed it out. So, a lot of call for immediate changes and shifts to orc stuff, and I honestly I don't think that's the answer.
Let's break it down a little further. So like you actually had the opportunity to interact with these guys. You were there. Mm-hmm. You know a little bit more than I think the average Reddit poster or Reddit reader, right? And even earlier during the after hours, had a lot of people say a lot of things that were just not true. And like these people are friends of our show. It's not like anyone was coming in there. It's just a lot of misinformation out there. A big one I saw repeated was, well, they don't have any bad matchups, right? Or their only bad matchup was the mirror match, which we proved by going through the list. We did this earlier, that of all the orc players in the top 50, which there were only 8?
Hey, there was only 8 orc players in the top 50. 7 of them were playing the freebooters style list, right? They weren't all the same. There was some variations. There was even some variations within the XPZ team of a handful of people running the freebooters. So when you just look at the raw data, right? Because the super major is a great raw data, like sample size of like what's happening in 40K at any given time. So we look at the top 50, and if the internet is to be believed, orcs, there was like 50 orc players, and they made 1 through 50 because like the only thing that could beat these orc players is other orc players, right? Like that would be the case if that were true, but it's not. There was 8 orc players in the top 50 at
still a decent,
basically one of the most competitive events,
easily one of the most competitive.
Yeah,
events.
SoCal, like there is no softball list, there is no kiddie pool at SoCal. It is like wall-to-wall talent and like hardball 40K, right? It's like mini LVO almost. And then you look at all the orc players, every single one of these orc players lost a game.
Including Logan.
He dropped a game in round 5. And again, if the rumors are to be believed, he played some other orc guy that beat him. But no, that's not the case. It was Admech. Because the other shift that happened, it's already kind of been making its way around some smaller events. And to my knowledge, this is the first like big boy event, like real big super major event where this sort of like new meta in Admech has been unveiled, is like 3 to 4 of their Stratoraptor chassis flyers to shift from the like Ballistari and other things like that, right? And in that instance, like, yeah, the Admech player like beat Logan, who ended up winning the tournament. And then we looked at 2 other players playing a very similar list that also ended up within like the top 10, top 20, who went 5-1, because only 2 of the 8 players in the top 50 who played Orks went 5-1, other than Logan. And they also lost to Admech, right? And then the other players went 4-2. So it's like, it's not this like unbeatable, unkillable thing.
And they lost to Dark Angels and Admech.
Right.
And so we've already determined, right, that the think tank that developed this strategy, XPZ, also determined that this Dark Angels list was a natural counter to the Orks. So they doubled down. He made it into the top 8, right? Mm-hmm. So they actually played, in my opinion, a pretty interesting game of Moneyball, where they developed this strategy. They worked on it together. They even reined it back so that people wouldn't be ready for it. He goes in there, makes it to the playoffs, and that's the hard part, right? Now that you're in the playoffs, you're in the top fucking 8. Now what? He made it into 7th.
Right.
So almost the bottom. And that means he had the worst seeded matchups on paper.
And so here's the wild thing, right? Is everybody was like shocked. This happened to Sean. And I think part of the shock is also this was the final round when these two guys met. But let's just say that plus or minus a handful of points, Joel goes in at number 7 and Logan comes in at number 8 as the bottom seed, playing the top seed in the final single elimination top 8, right? His list was tailor-made to take on Dark Eldar. And even beyond that, the wily Sean Nayden list, which nobody can really expect, just so happened to not really have any of the like ranged weaponry to deal with all of these vehicles. Like he didn't really have any Dark Lances to my knowledge. So it would have been a kind of a weird thing if he had gone in at number 8 and played Sean in that first game, because like he probably would have beat Sean in that game and then gone on to something else, right?
And it wouldn't have the same impact.
Right. So that's not what happened. So he goes in as number 7 and he plays Scott with his crazy demon list, right? He had like the Greater Chicken and 2 of the Keeper of Secrets, like Free Agent Bellicor, like super wily demon list, and like super cool how well he did with it. And I think as far as I know, that was one of the longer games that Logan played with that. Like Scott put up a really good fight. I think it went 3 games.
3 turns.
3 turns. But still like conquered it. So it wasn't like a like instant turn 1, like knockdown. It was like a game for a while, but he ended up overcoming that. And then he goes into Admech, the thing that beat him before.
Same configuration.
Right? So again, an unfavorable matchup, right? And he was able to pull that out. I think in that instance, with the way that those two lists are so highly refined, that matchup is very list dependent. Like to their own admission, Logan went second against the other Admech player, right? And when, Unstoppable Forest beats an immovable mountain.
Yeah, like he basically is like, we've done the best we can, and there will need to be a little luck in that die roll.
Yes. But he pulled it out, like awesome, great job. And then he goes into the final round against Sean, and Sean got first turn, right? And there's a lot of crazy stuff that can happen with Sean's list. He's got all this wild movement. He's got all of the nasty Dark Eldar tricks. And it's Sean Nayden, like one of the best players in the world, right? And so there was a lot of stuff that you could try to do to capitalize on that first turn. And he really he put on a clinic with like the movement phase and setting up all this crazy stuff, but just the mission type plus the deployment with the way that terrain ended up being set up. Like Logan did a great job of basically screening out all of his important stuff. Where he had like the 4 flyers like right out in front of all of the buggies, and there was a piece of terrain that was like blocking some of that movement, and then some mech guns like kind of out on the corner. And Sean set up this move where he was attempting to get into those mech guns with a good fair portion of his units so that he could stay locked in combat, right? Where the mech guns like can't get out and he's locked in there, can't be shot. And then it kind of turns into this wily, he turns into a game at that point, right? And it didn't work out. It didn't pay off. And then at that point, Logan is like, all right, I'm going to, do what I do. And he just unleashed the Orks, and Sean conceded in turn 1. Like, I think he lost something like 1,800 points of his army in that turn. And it was just rough, but that's what happens. Like when you build a perfect counter list, like that's what happens.
Yep. Especially when you refine it, you're prepared. Preparedness is one of the number one things of 40K.
Getting the reps in.
Right. Yeah, exactly, Rob. Like a lot of people in Warhammer 40K are unwilling to acknowledge when somebody is better than them, has outplayed them, and straight up just beat them. That's a pretty common phenomenon where we're always going to try to say something like, I was second. I'll come up to one of my friends and be like, did you pull it eyes? No, I was second. I'm like, that doesn't tell me anything, dude. I go second literally half the time. Like, that doesn't mean anything. What happened? It's like, my dice turned on me, or like, no, like your dice always do that. Your dice are always going to roll bad and good. What happened? They never are going to be like, dude straight outplayed me. What can I do except get good? No one ever. That's an extreme statement. A lot of people are unwilling to just instantly go there, because what that does is that makes you feel like you're not good. And the reality is we can never dismiss Logan's like skill level. What he did in preparedness, because preparedness is 90% of this, man. He was super prepared. Him and the entire think tank behind XPZ were prepared. They've played Moneyball, they played it well, and they got to the playoffs and they fucking defeated the superstar, right?
Yeah.
And that is incredible. We should never take that away from the guy. It had nothing to do with Orks being OP. It had more to do with people being unprepared for what was about to happen. And before we make any knee-jerk reactions on what to change about the Orks, why don't we wait until Orks are the top 4 armies of the next GT are Orks, like it's been for Jukari and Edmic. That has not even happened. We're not even close to that. There was only 8 Ork players in the whole of the top 50. We're not even close to needing an FAQ for these guys. But because we are always prepared, if there was going to be an FAQ, Wyatt and myself and Rob have already kind of workshopped some of the things.
Right.
And it's not that big of a list.
Yeah, it's really not. Like on paper, like the data sheets for all of these Ork buggies are not that great. It's the sum of its parts, not any like one individual thing that's like busted, right? If anything does need to change, it's the freebooter culture, because with the way that it's worded right now, it has like, theoretically an unlimited number of
and anybody who doesn't know what the culture is, they kill something, +1 to hit for the whole army.
Yeah,
and
the
that
whole army gets +1 to hit.
Technically continues, right? So
yes,
you
it can
get
stack.
+15, which is actually what happened to Sean Nayden's game at one point.
Right. So it completely makes like dense terrain, which is like a -1 to hit, like makes that irrelevant, makes any like resource spending thing.
And as again, we acknowledge you can never be above a +1 to hit. So these things are trying to get to like hitting on that 3, right?
So if you have a -3, but I have a +4, I'm still +1 to hit.
Even though it can never be more than mine. Like the thing is, we're dispensing our stacks, and it can never be greater than a 1 either direction. Their stacks are so heinous that it always going to be hitting on their desired +1 number, right? Now, that might not be a major factor in all of his victories. It might not even be a factor at all. It's just something that needs to be possibly re-examined. Not even that big of a deal. It might not even matter, but it is something that maybe should get looked at. And then I think the rest of your points really have nothing to do with.
Yeah, nothing to do with Orks in general. It's a mechanical issue with 40K in and of itself, which we've seen in the past. We've seen this, but we've been here before. And it's just because Games Workshop is not great at this aspect of it. Artillery and flyers, more so flyers. Like the Ork artillery is like, okay, like it's got a lot of shots, but it's still strength 5, -2 damage that hits on 4s and 5s and 6s, and maybe a 3 if they get off their bus.
And it doesn't need line of sight. That's the linchpin of when we say artillery, we mean ignores line of sight, which is kind of a rare rules interaction in a greater scheme, which is kind of the point. Not everyone has access to it.
Right. And it is, and then flyers, right? So you got 4 flyers in this list. You got the 3 Daka jets and the Wasbomb, Blasta, who's it? I forget the rest of it. But we've been here before, right? Like we've seen this. We've seen like, the crazy flyer list. I mean, like even back in the day, there was like, you could do like guard flyer list, which is Valkyries and Vultures all over the place. It was really hard to deal with. The Eldar one was the prime offender.
I mean,
Eldar and Dark Eldar,
in 6th edition Necron flyers. I mean, Rob was.
Oh yeah.
They've already had to nerf flyers multiple ways, right? In 8th edition, we didn't even have the rule of 3. We got the rule of 3. That's a low key flyer nerf. Secondly, we no longer have an air wing detachment. So you no longer have this cool detachment that just lets you take a bunch of flyers.
Right.
So it's already been nerfed twice since 8th edition came out, and now we're in 9th edition. So, like, what do you suggest we do?
So there's a couple of schools of thought. I've heard some people say like 1 detachment or 1 flyer per detachment. I've also heard people say like 2 flyers maximum per army, like period. I'm going to go with 1 flyer per detachment. So you can still have 3. Like 3 is going into 4. So like 4 is like the break point. Like that's too many. 3 is okay. Right. And there is a discussion there because like some flyers are like way better than others. Like 1 Daka jet is not the same as like a Warp Hunter or like one of the, what's the Dark Eldar one? That's pretty cool.
Crimson Hunter.
Yeah, Crimson Hunter, like or like the Stratoraptor shooting with the suite of rules that AdMech has with its two Cognate las cannons. Like,
I mean, it has an aura nullifier. It gets buffs. I mean, the thing is, first off, not all flyers are created equal.
Yes.
Right out the gate. And now we never preach for a perfectly balanced game. That's ridiculous. But having tools that are spicy, like flyers are clearly spicy, or indirect fire, we do preach for people having more access, just like Deep Strike. Remember, in 8th edition, we on this podcast said the two spiciest rules right now are ignoring line of sight and being able to Deep Strike. And now we did say that when you also could Deep Strike turn 1. And one of the solutions we had pitched in 8th edition early on this podcast was there needs to be new universal stratagems. As a matter of fact, there should be a Deep Strike one. There should be some way to put your guys in reserves. Something, because we did not have that. Because that would make everyone have access to it, not just the people who have fucking webway portals and Terminators in their army. So, hey, look, that happened. So it's kind of a similar situation here. Flyers are not all created equal, and spoiler, not everyone has fucking flyers like that are actually even remotely considered as playable. Like beyond not all flyers are created equal.
I mean, even Space Marines, like you look at all the Space Marine flyers, they're either almost all of them are over points costed for what you get. And some of them are like criminally overcosted.
Criminally unplayable. Like there's a difference between not all created equal. Because for example, Helldrake, it's not equal. It's not even, doesn't even have airborne, but I think it's very good. Right. I think it's very good, but it's not created equal, but it's not criminally unplayable. So people need to have access to similar tools. If there's a mechanic that exists outside the set of rules that we normally play, like doesn't need to see you to shoot you. That I think we can agree on kind of as a rule break. I love those. Also, being able to move anywhere on the table and be uninteracted with as a supersonic jet also kind of exists outside the normal rules. Everyone needs access to something that is useful in that category.
Right. And so then the question becomes like, okay, so why is this only now a problem? Well, this is a direct answer to the meta of 40K and not necessarily a direct answer to
some too.
It's not really.
That's a history lesson, right? Like that's when it first happened was because we had to take terrain into our own hands. Or when I say we, I mean ITC, the ruling council of the organization we play the most at, aka SoCal Open, had to fix terrain because it was unplayable, and they did through magic boxes and the bottom floor of ruins, black line of sight, and then what emerged from that. That started getting a little obnoxious. And what emerged from that was making sure we had flyers and fucking ignore line of sight. And now we have player optimized terrain. And even though it's not the same, we have actually obscuring terrain, we have dense, we have all these great terrain elements. But now that you can kind of rely on actual decent deployment every time you fucking run into a game of 40K at a frontline event, we start taking a second look at some of these things. It's like, well, it's getting really hard to interact with. Like this guy can still just have 5 guys guaranteed every game I fucking play that I can never get to see. And they're just going to set an objective and passively score and never fucking contribute, which is like
whole armies are built around the idea of like, I'm going to max out like retrieve Octarius data. I'm going to max out maybe something like engage or like a faction secondary that's passively scoring and like passively score primary in a lot of mission types. Where the best defense is like, you can't see me, you can't touch me, I'm just going to score more points than you, like that kind of thing.
And the thing is, that is a good defense and totally fucking viable defense. And I'm not telling anyone they shouldn't take elements of their army that are task oriented.
And resilient.
Why do cultists exist other than this? They don't kill things. They exist because you need to play the game in its entirety, right? So also, it's an unengaging game when everyone starts moving toward that. Right. And that's kind of what happened because we also used to play the frontline gaming in the ITC mission packet. Again, took matters into their own hand because the GW missions were garbage and unplayable. So asymmetric mission design, constantly sourcing it from the community, constantly updating it. And you start to see certain trends. Remember, engineers and recon. So basically, it even though it was asymmetrical, we as a player base played thousands of games of 40K every weekend, started kind of taking out the interaction part of the game and turn it into where I move my chess pieces part of the game. And you want a balance of both. And having flyers and indirect fire in the game, while also having units that sit on objectives, are both necessary to have a complete game. What we need, though, is to let shit shake out, maybe get everyone a flyer. Everyone needs to have access to the same tools, and then we can make a decision there. So
or I mean, if the company is not willing to give everybody an airplane, then somewhat limit them.
Exactly. That's your point. Your point of 1 per detachment is simply a Band-Aid that we will peel back off. And Frontline Gaming has done this in the past, where they have straight up said, you can't take these 5 units. These are ban lists. We've had ban lists forever.
That's true.
So it's not a ban list.
I can tell you straight up, FLG is not going to do that.
No, they're not going to do a ban list. What I'm saying is they have historically made improvements to the game. And saying something as simple as 1 flyer detachment as a Band-Aid is something I don't believe will be resisted. I don't believe anyone is going to be mad about that. People are like, yeah, it makes sense, especially if they phrase it and hey, we're just waiting for this game to get a little bit more balanced because.
Throttle it back. Yeah, maybe.
And then take this Band-Aid off. I don't know. But
I mean, Reese was either he was playing it really close to the chest or he was straight up saying we're not going to do that stuff anymore. That's what he was. He was there at the event. I was talking to him. He was like, "Yeah, we're not doing that anymore."
Well, I also respect that because I was also the biggest adversary of ban lists for literally 5 years. So but he did 2 ban lists save the game. They did. Honestly, when they banned elements of not ban lists of maybe models, but of rules interactions. So okay, that might not happen. But if GW does put an FAQ to force organizations, I would advocate for a 1 flyer per detachment.
Right. I would also say that you could have a very similar argument to indirect units, like artillery type units, right? Not everybody has them. They're vastly created differly. There's some on the bottom end of the spectrum and there's some on the top end of the spectrum.
They're not all Plague Burst Crawlers.
I mean, just a thing that's going to come down the pipe after this Arterius book is expect to see Hive Guard again. Hive Guard they were good before. They never got bad. They were always really good. And now they're even better than they were before. I mean, people are still playing guard with Manticores and stuff, Plague Burst Crawlers, and things like these Swig Buggies. And some people simply do not have an answer to it. They just don't. They either can't bring it that unit in and of itself, or they don't have a way to counter it, right? So maybe a very, very slight change to the mechanic of how that works needs to be implemented in some way. If you do not have line of sight, maybe that thing takes -1 to hit unless you have another unit with direct line of sight, like a forward observer, or maybe that unit can have some kind of war gear or spend a resource or something on that. But it's a little wild right now.
There's already been elements of that in the game. I remember playing editions of the game where things could ignore line of sight and incurred a penalty or got a buff for being able to see it. You could also do simple things like you can never activate your ignoring line of sight ability if you move. Which actually also kind of makes sense to me is that's kind of weird, right? Running and gunning and shooting fucking telemetry is kind of strange, right?
Yeah. I'd somewhat agree because it kind of locks you down into making that choice. Do I sit and fire this gun or do I need to reposition?
Yeah, because a lot of times what I'm trying to do is reposition my Plague Burst Crawlers to maximize my entropy cannons down here, my fucking rock or my heavy stubbers here, and throw that fucking mortar way back there. So now if you're telling me I want to do that mortar shit, right? But I hid my guy so I can't see anything else. What am I going to sacrifice? So there could be, and these have nothing to do with orcs. These are trends in the game that make certain things difficult because being able to target things in someone's backfield while they can't target things in your backfield is kind of hard to overcome sometimes.
Yeah, and just having no defense against it either. Because you could have if you take a Plague Burst Crawler, I can take a Plague Burst Crawler, but neither of us can take any type of defense against being targeted by a Plague Burst Crawler, right? That's also something mechanically in the game that I don't have a quick answer for, but it definitely is one of those things that there's a disparity there, right?
And that brings us, I think that we can conclude this with all of those things we said was built into the winning orc list. His ability to interact with things that thought they weren't going to be interacted with. his ability to catch people off guard through his degree of preparedness and their lack of knowledge on what he does due to their own strategies to keep this shit under the wraps. Mm-hmm. He was able to snowball primary easily by just undoing what you were doing on primary, by having flyers and artillery, by having an insane amount of units that can always get to places and be redundant in getting those places. And then put the bullets on the chin. The final linchpin is the DPS. Orks have had a historic self-fulfilling prophecy of tons of models, tons of dice that don't do anything. Right? A bunch. I can't tell you how many times I've played Orks. I've been an Ork fan for years. How many times I've played against them, and just like watch like this 180 model Ork army roll like for 45 minutes straight, and me pull like 3 models off the table. Like I'm just like, wow. Why does that even exist?
Right. It's somewhat like we were talking about this in the pre-show. It's a little funny because the last SoCal Open in 2019 that you and I both attended, there was something that everybody was kind of complaining about. And do you remember what that was, Kenny?
No, I do. I actually think my man Anthony Birdsong was there with his.
Yes. I was at the table when he was, not at the gaming table, but at the lunch table after that game.
He had one of the more vicious lists. Yeah.
He hits.
Orks.
Orks shooting. Ludas and mech guns. And it's somewhat, it tickles me a little bit because like the whole meme around Orks, right? Is like you show somebody, an Ork model. What's like the first comment anybody ever says about it? Needs more DACA, right? Like that's the meme, right? Is it like no matter how many guns you have, you always need more DACA.
And now that they have more DACA, they're like too OP.
Too much DACA. Like no.
It doesn't work.
Now that they have 500 fucking shots, like you're like, oh, whew.
Right.
When I said more DACA, I didn't mean that much DACA.
Right. And so I will say like anybody listening, right? So it's like we can talk all day, right? So like what do we do? Like, is the answer to nerf it, or is the answer to like be proactive about thinking about this? Because I mean, like the first thing I started doing even before I got on my flight home was like, how am I going to pivot to deal with this? Because SoCal Open almost always sets the pace for the next 3 months going into LVO, right? And so again, like hope for the best, prepare for the worst. What if there are no changes? What if there is no FAQ before LVO that changes how this Ork list functions? Because now that it's out there, like the Pandora's box is open, right?
Yeah.
It's already open for AdMech. So like every AdMech player is already getting 2, 3, 4 of their flyers painted up and ready, right? All of the Ork players are like, oh, okay, this works. I'm going to do that, right? So like be thinking about what you need to do if you are going to attend some of these events, or if like in your local RTTs or your local game nights or whatever, you have some Ork players that are going to like show up with this, right? And primarily it's going to be like you need a lot of T7 if you can muster it, T7, T8. If you have artillery access, take some of that, real good. And strength 8 shooting and above does real well because it ignores ramshackles. Like kind of think about it in that sense.
No, I agree. And so, just my advice to everyone is when something like this happens, celebrate. Like back to the drawing board, back to scheming, back to the funnest part of this hobby, which is fucking scheming with your bros.
I think it'll be nice to see how it sorts out because the top has been quite stagnant, but
yeah,
they're just kind of okay right now. We'll see where it sorts out. Sean bought an Ork army. We'll see what he does with it.
Yeah.
And also just for the record, me and Wyatt said that Fury Road Orks is the greatest Ork army of all time, and
we were like 3 years ahead of our time.
We just needed the great prophet, Logan, to show up and show us the way. Well, it's a good talk.
Do we do it,
Rob? Like,
take us out of here.
Oh, you're gonna reverse it to Wyatt?
Oh, I mean, Kenny.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, Rob.
This is bullshit. Head over to the Long War Net for exclusive content and early access videos. You can support us over on Patreon so we can unlock these t-shirts. Go now, please.